Good evening. Welcome to the We Believe Digital Studios in downtown Jackson, Mississippi for another episode of Sizzling in Mississippi. Chris Young alongside my bright and beautiful as always co-host Maati Primm. How are you, dear?
Doing wonderfully.
You rolling with it?
Yes, I am. How about you?
We have got some topics tonight.
Yes, we have.
And you know, it's so funny I'm me. I don't know. I never know how to answer that question. How are you doing? Because it's just wild being down here. It's a wild place. So much going on.
It is. We got a busy Monday.
A very busy Monday, and we got rain outside.
Finally.
It's been raining for about 20 minutes straight.
Yes.
So that's a glorious thing.
Yes.
So that's one thing that's not sizzling in Mississippi. We finally got some rain that lasts for more than 5 minutes. The weekend I was talking to an old Navy buddy that lives up in Virginia Beach, and you know, I asked him, does he ever tune in? He said yes, and read some of my articles and stuff, and he said, I got to tell you though, Chris, I can only listen for so long because everything you guys talk about, I mean, it's these people that are making these decisions,
yes,
that end up delivering these outcomes are just killing this country. And he said, I got to take it in small doses. He said, I don't know how you do it. And I think of somebody like you that's been here so much longer than me.
Yes.
Or somebody like the owner of the studio, Mr. Garrett, that's been here for, 45 years or something, was raised just a short ways north of here, Farmville.
Sure.
Just amazing.
Yeah. Well, we have a mission. And so because of that, always focused. Yeah, we're focused. We have the stamina to go ahead and get through the ugly, because our mission is to make it beautiful here.
Make it beautiful. At least get it out there so people know, and maybe some suggestions along the way. You know, another thing too, I was thinking this voting is really creeping up on us now.
It is.
So I want to say October 9th.
Yes.
That's the last day to register for your in-person voting in Mississippi. If you're going to do if you're doing the mail-in application, it must be postmarked by October 10th. But the in-person voting, you need to be registered by October 9th is the deadline. So getting really, really close on that. And boy, oh boy, we need everybody to turn out if we expect to see any kind of change. We're going to mention things tonight that, you know, it's hard to say, but it's just the reality of being down here and the byproduct of so much ignorance, so much lack of, you know, it's interesting, we call ourselves the hospitality state.
Yeah.
But we lack basic human regard for people, especially if they're not colored white.
Yeah.
And if they're poor, it's a double whammy.
It is. It's a knockout punch. Two punches and you're out. You know, when I registered to vote, I went downtown to Hinds County building. Yeah. And so you go down in the basement there, and there's people there at the desk. Mm-hmm. Behind them are all these records. Yeah. And they're marriage records. And I saw them, and I looked, and it said on all of these volumes, these huge books, white records.
Yeah.
And I said to the clerk, I said, does that mean what I think it does? And she said, yes. And I said, you mean that the marriage certificates are also segregated? I said, up until what point? And she was like, oh, about 1978. Now, anyone who's been here long enough would know how unbelievable that is, that it was still segregated in the 70s. Right. Yeah.
Just this weekend, I was watching a YouTube, and I can't remember who put it out, but with Emmitt Smith, you know, the renowned running back that would play for Dallas Cowboys for so long. I think he still holds records to this day, but he was doing some genealogy and stuff and driving around to different places. He came across the same thing you're just speaking of.
Yeah.
And they have these big binders, and on the outside it said colored.
Yeah.
And he was trying to trace down great grandparents and great grandparents.
Yes.
And just horrible, but
right.
Yeah, you don't even know how to.
I don't even know what to say to that. I thought I'd gone through a time machine.
And good Christians keeping all the books over the years.
Yeah, the Bible Belt. We're in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and somehow, it's just amazing because you think about the Civil Rights Act, right? 1965.
Yeah.
And still you have a segregated record system up until 1978.
78. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
It is.
Well, isn't that like the what was that, the 13th Amendment, when they found that just a handful of years ago down here? They said a clerical error. They had forgotten to file it.
Yeah. Like heck,
the last state in the country.
Yes. That was like 2012.
Yeah.
And we were the very last state because when you have, for everybody to know, the 13th Amendment was the amendment that ended enslavement.
Yeah.
Right? With, of course, the exception of if you have committed a felony.
Yeah.
However, every other state in the Union each state has to approve of it. Mm-hmm. And we were the last ones. The last one before us was something like almost 100 years ago.
Crazy.
And here we are, and we're just at the point of maybe 10 years free.
From that, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to imagine, but we're so glad you're joining us tonight. Really glad you're here. I'll put in a little plug for YouTube. If you can always watch us on YouTube, on Facebook, or on our own platform. We Believe Digital. We Believe Digital, and happy to have you on any of those places. If you're able to, it really can help us to defer some of the expenses if you end up watching us on YouTube. So we obviously will invite you to do that, again, on demand, whenever it's convenient for you. We know that people might not be available, at 6:30 on a Monday night, but you can watch it later on when it's convenient for you. But if you can watch on YouTube, please do. And, give us the clicks and share our, our links with your friends and so forth. And that can help to what YouTube calls monetization. And it's not a lot of money, but it certainly can help defray the cost of the studio itself. None of that money comes to the podcasters. It always comes to the studio itself, and to help defray the cost for the staff and the equipment and all that kind of stuff. So if you're able to use YouTube, please do. So we just jump right in. Lots of information, Maati, over this last week from the CDC and coming out of the Census Bureau. Life expectancy. I guess this shouldn't be shocking, but life expectancy at birth in Mississippi has fallen from 73.7 years to just 71.9 over the past 20 years. So over the past 20 years, life expectancy in Mississippi continues to go downward.
Right.
Another reason we're sizzling in Mississippi, but you're not shocked over something like that.
No, I'm not, because I was horrified to tour a neighborhood about a week ago. I thought I wasn't in America anymore.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It looked like some type of war-torn poverty, the type of poverty that you would never think existed in America.
This must be in North Jackson.
It's actually, it's only about 3 blocks
from
my business.
Oh,
for my
really?
store.
Really?
But what it was is that I had never ventured into the interior of
Yeah,
this neighborhood. The perimeter wasn't great, but it didn't look anything like the interior.
Yeah.
So the interior, not only do you have a lot of boarded up houses, but the lawns are quite small, and they're sunken into the ground and filled with trash.
Yeah.
There's burned out buildings. There's people who have no doors. On their front door is simply a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you manage to live this way? I saw 2 dogs that were blind. One dog, when I came up on it, had this beautiful blue eye. I mean, a type of blue eye, just very deep and intense. But the closer I got, I saw that there were no whites in the dog's eyes. And that one eye was missing, and the eye that was missing, unfortunately, was diseased, and it had this this discharge running out of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. The people were feeding the dogs, but they were so injured and ill. I've just never seen anything like this.
Makes your heart hurt, and then you have no problem figuring out how our life expectancy keeps going down. And another story, Maati, related to that, the third bullet down on the sheet now, hunger. Mississippi, we have known, by the census, I think they say 19.1% of Mississippi lives in poverty. We would certainly argue with that figure.
We would.
And here in Jackson, I'd be really, really shocked if it's less than 25%, if not higher than that.
Oh, yes.
I'm pretty convinced about every fourth person you see in Jackson is living in poverty.
Oh, at least.
But the Census Bureau, a new release, they do these pulse surveys, kind of short amount of times. They look and then they keep track of that. So this is, I think, the 10th release in 2023, and according to this new survey, Maati, 22% of households saying they did not have enough food to eat. 22%.
That includes a lot of elderly people.
It does, and if I had more time, it is broken down by ages there.
Okay.
There was a couple of spots where at the young teen, it didn't have any data in there, which I couldn't understand that, because that kind of goes against some other stuff that we've learned.
Sure.
But in the middle years and in the older years, there was plenty of data there where you're seeing thousands upon thousands of respondents in the various age groups. So it's not like it's one specific part of a demographic. It's widespread throughout the state.
Right, but I'll tell you something. As bad as it is in central Mississippi and Jackson, where we are, the Delta is worse.
Delta, much worse.
Much worse.
And I told you, I had this chance of a month or so back or whatever it was to go visit Gloucester.
Sure.
And
that's southwest.
And I guess maybe only 18 or 20 miles from the Louisiana border.
Right.
And Maati, some of those sites on them sides roads was not pretty.
No.
And just tough. So 22% of respondents to this Census Bureau household survey saying that they did not have enough food to eat. The next closest one, and that leads the nation in hunger in that response, admitting you don't have enough food to eat, at 22%, the highest in the nation. And then followed by Louisiana, 18%, 17% Arkansas, and then somehow I was a little surprised, 15% Nevada.
Yeah.
Not sure I would have ever picked that.
No, I wouldn't either.
But I do. There's a lot of service workers out there, right?
Right.
Reno and Las Vegas.
Right.
So you have thousands upon thousands of service workers, and sometimes I wonder, how much they're compensated.
Right.
I know that when we get ready to do the national elections, everybody gets excited about Nevada
Sure.
because they, the belief is a lot of those service workers will vote on the Democrat side.
Right. But I think they're really dependent on a lot of gratuities, tips.
Yeah.
Is the type of
So not necessarily stable.
Right.
You can have a good night, but then you could have 2 bad nights. So
right.
Yeah. And let's see where we're at with time here. We got another couple of minutes before we take a break for commercials.
Yes.
Maati, you want to hit that second bullet there?
Sure. Mississippi is highest in the nation for adults 18 to 64 without health insurance.
So we keep getting all these firsts, and again, this is why we're sizzling in Mississippi. I mean, this is not 18 to 25. This is 18 to 64 years old, and that's a magic number, right? 'Cause 65,
right?
Medicare.
Right.
So you're going to have some form of insurance.
Right.
Even though the Congress does what they do to Medicaid Medicare whenever they get a chance to.
Sure.
But that's a huge swath of our overall population.
Right.
Without insurance. And we're going to talk more about health issues later on in the program. So 3 different leading the nation in reduced life expectancy,
right.
leading the nation in hunger, and leading the nation for people not having insurance.
Right.
Just hard to wrap your brain around.
Right. And to think that babies born today have a life expectancy of 1.8 years less.
Lower.
Yeah.
And it's downward trending.
Right.
Keep downward trending.
It does.
Okay, so we'll dip out for some commercials now, and we'll come back and give you an update on HB 1020 that we've talked about from the very beginning on this show. Be right back.
Hey, have you heard about the Accountable Card? It's more than a card. It's a complete mobile banking service that's accountable to all of us. You'll get a no credit check debit card good anywhere Visa is accepted to make purchases, deposits, even get or transfer cash with an FDIC insured bank account managed from our smartphone app. There's even a pre-approved no interest line of credit if you need emergency cash. So why go to the bank?
Socrates Gary T.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi on We Believe Digital. So glad you're joining us tonight. We've from the very beginning, we've talked to you about this really controversial, unconstitutional statute. So many laws that are passed in Mississippi wind up in the courts. And at some point in time, doesn't a person have to stop and ask themselves, what is up with this? What is going on with this? And what you have is a trifecta of white Christian male, predominantly male legislators, conservative as the day is long, and so much taking going on, so many attempts to do takeovers. Right. Despite the fact that we struggle in Jackson, there's a lot of money moving around Jackson, and they attack our when you have a predominantly black city, well, then you have black economic engines. You have black leadership in charge of a city. You have black economic engines. Your airport becomes an economic engine. Your school system, your water, your sewer, and over time, these people try to take over they go right after the money.
Yeah.
And not
It's
only
a great tool.
it's a great well, not only are they going to prosper from that,
Right.
but then they cut black people off at the knees, taking away their money, their funding sources.
Right.
So it's just a horrific thing. And this HB 1020, they wanted to, and some of this is repeat for our regular listeners that heard this all along. This became law at the end of July. And what this does is this carves out a portion of the city, the Capital Complex Improvement District. It expands it from 8.7 miles to a much broader area. And wink, wink, coincidentally, a much more white populated area of the city.
Right.
Have the Capitol Police up there. And bringing in its own court system, appointed no less.
Yeah.
You know, we already have a court system.
Right.
It's called the Hinds County Court System.
Right.
But they want to create their own court system.
Right.
And to an extent, they're going to get away with it, but they're not going to get away with the whole deal. Before the ink was dry on this law, House Bill 1020, the NAACP had filed suit. Many other organizations filed suit also. So we have a little update for you on that. There was just a hearing by the Supreme Court on last Thursday. What they did is they affirmed in part and reversed in part the HB 1020 case. So they held this, and I really be interested to hear your thoughts on this, Maati. So they say the creation of the CCID, or Capital Complex Improvement District, the white district more than anything else. For a simple name, it's more the white district.
Right.
The creation of a CCID inferior court is constitutional, but creating 4 temporary special judges to be appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to almost 4-year terms violates the Mississippi Constitution that circuit court judges be elected. So on the one side of their mouth, they're saying that, yes, you can create this inferior court. You notice they don't weigh in on whether or not they think it's necessary.
Right.
We already have an existing court system.
Right, exactly.
They're the ones at the top of the pyramid. They would know whether we need more.
Right.
They didn't weigh in on that.
Right.
So,
or the possibility of just hiring more judges under the current system.
Right. Or more people to in the labs to process the case material.
Sure.
And
clerks and such.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the forensics people and stuff like that.
Right.
But then they did drop and say that no, the Constitution, it's really about electing judges. Well, how about that? So the people get to elect their judges, and so they did stop that temporary special circuit judges. They did stop the ball on that.
Right.
And apparently that was 6-2, and Kitchens dissented as to the constitutionality, and he was joined by King, the only African American on the 9-member Mississippi Supreme Court. So in Mississippi, the highest court, the court of last resort, has 9 members. When we do the percentages, 11.11% of the court is African American in a state that has to be 40%. 38% African Americans and 38 to 40%.
And that's an undercount.
And that's an undercount.
Right.
You always know it's but on the Supreme Court, the court of last resort, to hear the people's business, the rights and wrongs of what's going on, only one ever, and it's been that way since 1985. There's always been one black since 1985. Justice Reuben V. Anderson was appointed by Governor Lane. Mm-hmm. He took his seat. He stayed over 5 years, and then when he left, another African-American male was appointed to that spot. When he left, another, but never more than that now.
Right.
We don't want more than that.
Right.
So just what, 11.11% to represent the interests of 40% African-American population.
Right. Right.
Lopsided.
Very lopsided.
Not fair. And Kitchens and King concurred to the unconstitutionally. Randolph, the Chief Justice, did not participate.
Okay.
You notice the 62 vote.
Right.
So I forget who. Yeah.
I mean, I look at this and I'm wondering about, they're saying that the CCID's court will be now an inferior court, because before it was going to subordinate the court in Jackson, and it would be above the current court system.
And if I'm not mistaken, the language to call it inferior court,
Right.
It's not like what you and me would think of.
Right.
But it's a legalese kind of thing.
Right.
I got a chunk of information here, Maati, and this came from MississippiAppeals.com. So when they, or .org rather, when they make decisions like this organization, when appeals are going on, and in this case being up to the state Supreme Court, they take a look at that and they publish that information. So they say the crux of the reasoning is that Section 1 creates 4 additional unelected circuit court judgeships. These new judges are posted within the already existing 7th Circuit Court District. And instead of election, the legislation mandates the Chief Justice to appoint. And these judges have the same power and serve alongside the 4 already elected judges. So they're trying to get down to the bottom of the unconstitutionality of this.
Right.
While Section 1 calls the new judges temporary special circuit judges, and that's legislators that did that. Many of them are attorneys. Mm-hmm. They serve for an almost 4-year term. And the text of the Section 1 shows nothing special or unique about their appointment. It is neither expressly tied nor even mentions any enumerated exigency or case backlog or any reason for doing this.
Right.
So, and once again, they point out that they say there that there's really no reason for doing that.
Right.
But they say it's okay to do.
Right.
But they don't have substantiation for doing it. But they do stop and say, okay, no, you can't appoint. You got to be elected.
Right.
So it's a real hodgepodge, but it is a development in the.
It's a mixed decision.
It's a mixed decision on HB 1020, and it's not going to be the last decision that we hear on each HB 1020.
Yeah, I still don't see it as fair.
I couldn't agree more. And then we move on to earlier we were talking about different healthcare issues going on, and there's a lot going on in Mississippi with poor healthcare. U.S. News and World Report ranks Mississippi 49th now, 49th in healthcare overall, and 50th in healthcare quality. So millions and millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, are being spent each and every year, and Mississippi gets more money than just from the state taxpayers. There's also special grants and endowments and federal funds that come in, but the outcome is 50th in quality.
Yes. And
then we have the incumbent governor, a hard right Republican, loves to. I know he's on Ron DeSantis' Christmas card list, and Greg Abbott Christmas card list. From down there in Texas. the kind of people that run down to Mar-a-Lago and have different seminars down there like they did back in May, I guess it was. We had a number of legislators from Mississippi, including our governor, including our lieutenant governor, and many other legislators that ran down there to Mar-a-Lago, using, in some cases, using their campaign funds.
Yes.
That people to send them down there.
Yes.
I guess they go over like for a tune-up or something, like oil change.
Sure. Yeah. Circling the troops.
And this governor, I mean, what is the? I mean, with you having been here, you know, I defer to you. There's information available here, but your judgment with having been here much longer and seen previous governors. I haven't. Okay. You have.
Right.
Has he done anything to bolster the health care in Mississippi from what you can see?
No, he hasn't, nor have the other ones that I've seen. Been here to see Barbara and Bryant. And it's a culture of not respecting people's health, their lives. It's really just part of Mississippi. It's as Mississippian as it was in 1817. The culture of Mississippi is to not give a kick about the health care of poor residents, whether they were enslaved back in 1817 or they're just poor in 2023.
Or descendants of enslavers.
Right, or descendants of those who were enslaved.
Either side of it, though.
Either, right. If you're
poor white people.
Just poor white people, poor black people, poor everybody.
And there's a full-scale supremacist goes on here.
Elitist,
supremacist, anti-black. Every single day in Mississippi, but it's also anti-poor. This whole, we don't expand Medicaid. We finally, after numerous years, expanded the Medicaid carve-out for postpartum women.
Right.
So we can stop having new mothers in caskets, obliterating families from the very onset.
Right.
And he finally caved under political pressure and did that. And now, 47 days, this was last week, 47 days before the general election, and adamantly against Medicaid expansion, but now he's going to do a carve-out for the hospitals.
Right.
Not the people now.
Right, just the hospitals.
Because we have 25% of hospitals with curtailed services or shuttered completely.
Right.
The doors closed, hospitals shutting down.
Right. Yeah.
One hospital is at Greenville, maybe, Greenwood.
Yeah,
I mean, they've had two different tenants in the last 2 different years over there. The hospital companies come in and sign a contract, and then they're not making enough money to keep doing business, and they run away, and then somebody else goes in there, and what do you think that does to services along the way? We've seen mental health programs close their front doors. No more admissions.
Right.
We've seen prenatal. That was West Jackson, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Shut down their clinic.
Yeah. Prenatal ICU.
Yeah. Shut that down completely.
Care. Right.
We have many situations, many health concerns now in the Mississippi Delta, for example, where they have got to come to Jackson. So now you have an issue of transportation,
right?
And the time it takes when you're up in the extreme northwest part of the Delta, it's no easy task driving to Jackson.
Right.
You're talking better than 2 hours to get to Jackson.
Well, sure.
If you're down low, if you're down just the other side of Yazoo City or something like that, it's less than an hour. But still, to not have access to healthcare services And why can't they have access?
Right. And there's some conditions that even an hour is too long.
Too long.
To travel.
Too long.
Yes.
So anyway, we wanted to share that with you, that the incumbent governor, Tate Reeves, who with some polls say he's now the challenger, the Democrat, Brandon Presley. Some polls are saying that they're even. I have struggled to believe that. I hope it's true, but obviously when he turned tide on this and decided they're going to find a way to prop up the hospitals, and they're going to do that by payments. So they're going to ask the hospitals to charge a different rate, and by the hospitals and give them money, and by doing that, the hospitals can then draw down more federal dollars. So the political culture that you're talking about earlier, Maati, the political culture, this kind of fake rugged individualism,
right?
And we don't take no handouts,
right?
And yet 47% last year of the Mississippi budget, the Mississippi revenues came from the federal government, 47%.
Right.
So now this last minute plan, will prop up these hospitals by asking them to change their rate structures, thereby being able to draw down more federal dollars, and the state will give them additional funding to do that. Is what the plan apparently is, but it does nothing to help the over 300,000 Mississippians that are uninsured, that we talked about earlier. That 20%, the highest in the nation, 20% of the state uninsured. And so, too little, too late. And the other thing that really goes along with this, and I could not find the source for this, Maati, but found the video with somebody interviewing Dr. Edney, our state health officer.
Yes.
And to me, just one person, he's a marked improvement over this last guy, Thomas Dobbs, that we had. Right. I used to think before I even moved to Mississippi that Thomas Dobbs was really sharp and attacking the COVID head on and a really strong leader. But then by the time I got down here, I saw that, he had let vaccines become politicized. And, back to number one again, highest COVID death rate in the entire nation.
Yes.
In Mississippi. So, you let vaccines get politicized, you let a hard right-wing conservative governor tell you how to approach your job as the state health officer, and you cripple our state.
Absolutely.
This guy, Dr. Edney, he doesn't appear to be malleable. He's a straight shooter, and he was telling this interviewer that Mississippi invests far less in public health than any other state in the region, and that's $16 a person per year is what Mississippi invests, and that's about half of what the next lowest state, Georgia, invests. Arkansas, as an example, is $42 a person. Tennessee invests $65 a person. Mississippi, $16 a person.
Wow.
Just really, really sad. So again, we're going to dip out for a couple of commercials, then we'll be right back with you for the final segment.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. Glad you're joining us. Just trying to soak in, these horrific healthcare statistics that we have here in Mississippi, and these really low, just pathetically low rankings, leading the nation in COVID deaths, so many uninsured people, the governor refusing to expand Medicaid, which the federal government would be paying about 93% of the bill.
Right.
And he won't do it.
No.
Ain't going to take that federal money, but yet they take 47% of their revenue each year comes from the feds.
Right. The people have to protest this. There's other states where this just wouldn't occur because the people wouldn't allow it to occur. The grassroots has to speak on their own behalf.
Yeah, and what's going on with people's ability to protest, to speak out? I mean, yes, we have a lot of that going on, but sometimes I feel, Maati, like there's some sort of a malaise, like the Wicked Witch of the West or something puts some mojo.
Yeah.
I get that a lot of people are tired, and they're just tired.
It seems hopeless here because the culture is such that people are just tools. We're born, we live, we die. And it really doesn't really matter. Like I said, the neighborhood that I went through, I thought I was in Calcutta. It was horrific.
Right, and in the downtown. Might as well call it downtown.
Right, it's downtown.
Yeah.
It was downtown. And then I was told, well, this isn't the only neighborhood like this.
Yeah. Oh, we believe that.
Yeah.
And, that whole thing, garbage in, garbage out, I mean, what are we choosing to invest in?
Right.
When the lowest per person investment in healthcare in the region, straight from the mouth of the state's health officer, Dr. Daniel Edney, and Tennessee. I mean, we're two and a half. Okay, 3
hours.
Let's follow the speed limit.
Yeah.
3 hours, 15 minutes away from the Tennessee border.
Right.
They're putting $65 a person into healthcare. Mississippi's putting $16 a person. Right. What do we expect? I mean, so we got to find a way. We got to find a way to raise the voices, like you're saying.
Right. But a lot of that comes with education, and education's being stifled.
Yes.
Yes.
And did you see any of that stuff from that state auditor about the education?
Oh, what was that?
Oh, we got another doozy of a report. Remember back in what was that, June of last year? Mm-hmm. Here's this white man going to write the report on fatherlessness. ROTC. That's your answer. Mandate ROTC. Pour the monies into ROTC, and that's going to cure the ills of fatherlessness in Mississippi. Yeah, first of all, Mississippi not the only place that I mean, it just and then of course he attacked the DEI. I don't know, half a dozen months ago or something like that. Diversity, equity, wanted the state to stop funding diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at any state-funded universities.
Right.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is America. We would never have any need for diversity, equity, and inclusion, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then, of course, the ban on critical race theory, which doesn't specifically say critical race theory, so therefore it becomes an impediment to diversity.
Doesn't even define it. They don't even say what it is.
No.
So yeah, it's just a really sad commentary, and that's why we have this show. We want to get the word out. We want people to know what's going on down here. We're desperate for change. So many people that are here are just so tired and so oh my gosh, indoctrinated. The Republicans are using that indoctrination now in a negative way, but really and truly, all this decision making over time has indoctrinated people to accept
Right.
this horrible treatment down here.
Right.
And
Because it looks like an improvement. I mean, Mississippi has always been known for its ill treatment
Yes.
and genocide and whatever. So everything from there looks like an improvement.
yeah,
But it's not enough.
no.
Not nearly enough. The culture remains genocidal and horrific and parasitic.
Maati, I listened to a YouTube video over the weekend. This was just from last week about this was from last Thursday, but I watched it over the weekend. The Clinton Board of Aldermen.
Yes.
Now they have 7. They have 7 aldermen
Yes.
in Clinton. And Clinton got a 40+% African American population.
Right.
And we had the census from back in 2020, right?
Right.
Most recent census.
Yeah.
And this is
23.
Okay, so 3 years later,
Yes.
they're getting around to the talk of redistricting in Clinton.
Yeah. A little late. Yeah.
So I listened for 30 minutes while these aldermen, 2 of them female, but white female, all the rest white male, 1 black male
Okay.
out of 7 on the Board of Aldermen. And they had all these plans for redistricting. And they've talked about going to the planning district and learning how the process works. And if we move Smith Street over to District 2, then that's going to impact, Jones Street over here. And they got all this thing figured out where they can monkey wrench it around
Sure.
for the numbers, blah, blah, blah,
Sure.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so they've all done, they claim to do their homework and all that stuff and learn all this stuff. And in the meantime, the NAACP pop into the picture and say, yeah, well, we're the NAACP and we care about our people and we have a plan for you to consider. So you got these 6 plans. A couple of them had been dropped out for various reasons, but then you have Plan 7, which I guess it made, I believe it was 5 plans overall that they ended up voting on.
Okay.
Before the vote, they were strongly encouraged by residents in the public comment of the meeting.
Sure.
Delay this. We have until 2025 by law to get this done.
Yes.
Don't jump too quick.
Okay.
Which they're already running a little slow, if you ask me.
Right.
But so you had lots of residents, black residents, saying, "Don't rush, don't rush, don't rush."
Okay.
Because you know what they're thinking.
Right. Yeah.
They're thinking that
Steamroll.
that they're going to get steamrolled. Lo and behold, you better sit down for this one. The 7 Board of Aldermen voted 4-3 to accept the NAACP map for redistricting.
Wow.
How does that happen?
Right.
I wish I could tell you that's the end of the story.
Yeah. It must have been a fair plan.
It must have been a very fair plan because they voted to approve it.
Right.
But when the mayor found out the next day, he vetoed their decision. Mayor Phil Fisher, the mayor of Clinton, Mississippi, vetoes the decision to accept the NAACP plan. What we, of course, would love to believe is a fair and equitable plan, giving everybody an equal voice. But the mayor said he knows better than them. So after all that deliberations, after all that people visiting the Central Mississippi Planning and Development District to look at how things work out, ask questions, learn information, been talking about it for a long time.
Council debates.
And then boom. He just decided he knows better.
Wow.
So just another glimpse of the things that go on here, the sizzling in Mississippi, trying to get to fairness, and remember, trying to get to equity, and remember, 7 people in Mississippi the blackest state in the country per capita, 7 Board of Aldermen, only 1 African American, and then the white mayor. It don't matter if he don't want it, it ain't going to happen. So he vetoes it after the fact.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that and report back to the listeners what's going on down there in Clinton.
Right.
And Maati, I just have one other thing I found, and I'll tell you, it's the exact opposite of Sizzling in Mississippi, but we just had to bring it up. There is this woman, grew up on the Maryland Eastern Shore. I wish I could have sent a picture to our producer so we could show you what she looked like. She grew up in the Eastern Shore, Maryland, and if you know any history of Maryland, a lot of pain going on up there in Maryland and on Maryland's Eastern Shore. She got talked into putting in an application for the ROTC program at Hampton University, what they call the Pirate Battalion, the Hampton University Pirates, the Pirate Battalion. So next thing you know, she's in the National Guard, in the Army, served on the staff of the former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. In January of 2021, they called on her to command the National Guard Bureau task force commander that guarding the Capitol. This was immediately after the January 6th insurrection. She was brought in to shore up the security functions. She led the country's first operational vaccine task force. In 2021, there's only 1 in 5 active duty officers were women, and of course she was one of those. Her name is Jone Burkhead. She is a major general, and is now the only black woman in America that's in charge of a state's army. So she's in charge of the Maryland National Guard.
Yes.
And 50 states.
Yeah.
One black woman.
Right.
In charge.
Right.
She's not the very first black woman that's been in charge, because Maryland has a history with this.
Yeah.
So sometime previous, there was another black woman that had been the first one in the state.
Yes.
But then she had retired, I guess, after and General Burkhead has over 30 years in service now. So not sure how much longer she'll be around, but
more than qualified, and of course she's coming from the state of one of the Union's greatest spies, who was Queen Mother Harriet Tubman.
There you go.
Right.
There you go, Queen.
Yeah. So
Mother.
Queen Mother. Doesn't get any better than Queen Mother Harriet Tubman.
And I bet you General Burkhead know a lot about that.
Absolutely.
A lot about her.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's just a joy to share that with you. I kind of caught that. I think it was on the website called the 19th that I pay attention to, and just wanted to share that with you. We're normally bringing you all this awful, horrible stuff that's going on, but just wanted to share that positive story with you.
Yes.
Any thoughts as we wrap up?
I think really we have to look at solutions for Mississippi, and when we do that, I think it begins and ends with education. Education will determine health care. Education will determine the politics. Education comes first, medium, in the middle, and lastly. It's important that we lift up the education process to something that is relevant.
Yes.
It hasn't been, it's not now. It's more than STEM. You have to teach a liberal education. You have to have the arts.
The state auditor is going after that right now.
Yeah.
Is what I started out telling you, and I got distracted.
Right. Yeah, but it's the arts, it's vocational. We're dealing with thousands and thousands of people. So not everyone should be STEM, because not everybody is STEM. There's artists, there's all types of people that we need in order to make a better Mississippi. And we have to recognize that, and our education system must reflect that and support it.
Yeah, and we nobody's getting helped when you have somebody, an elected official earning over $90,000 a year, being the state auditor, and calling some majors, degree program majors, garbage,
Right.
and useless. An elected official,
Right.
making north of $90,000 a year,
Right.
He want to call anthropology garbage.
No, it's not, especially in a state like Mississippi.
He want to call urban studies made his list. Useless degree, he says.
He's wrong.
Well, it's funny. I went to the Harvard website.
All right.
Just because I'm weird like that.
Okay.
And I looked up urban studies.
Sure.
Guess what? They have a robust program at Harvard.
Yeah.
He's a graduate of Harvard.
Okay.
So I just had to do it, and they've got people working on PhDs in urban studies.
Yes.
That have
All over the country.
all over the world, Joni. They have people from other countries coming, doing, tailored programs. They approach them and say, "Hey, I'd like to do a program that covers this, 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 and this." And Harvard say, "Okay, do it."
Right.
We'll let you in. And but this guy knocks that and just knock people down.
Yeah.
And it's just. So I'm with you. Education is the way. And if you get a free minute, you're looking at a video to watch with some vibrant young people of all races and creeds, go to the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning website, scroll down there, and there's a video about 2/3 of the way down the front page that's got all these young people talking about the value of education. And I found it to be really inspiring. White, black, Indian, Asian, all, and some of them didn't mince words when it comes to education in Mississippi.
Right.
That we need to do better.
Right.
So, as usual, it's you're calling it just exactly the core issue that needs to change.
Right.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have to tell you on our last minute out, we're so happy to have a production team here that's, we've had some changes recently in our production staff, and we're just delighted the folks that we have in here now just hit the ground running and really we're just two of the podcasters that come here. There's many people that come here, but we couldn't be happier with the investment that's going on, the little things that are being tended to that help make the show go off smoothly and all. And so we just want to send a shout out to our production team and thank them so much for coming in here on a Monday evening. A lot of people doing other stuff on Monday evening, coming in here and pulling this show off for us. We thank you very much. And we'll see you folks back next Monday night at 6:30. Until then, take good care of yourselves and each other.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.